Well, hello there, stamping friends. This is Traci Raether from Plum Crazy Stamping, and it is Wednesday, June 18th, and time for our weekly card making lesson. I'm so glad that you've joined me today. I look forward to knowing who is coming aboard. So, if you would please put your name and where you're watching from in the comments, I would appreciate it. And if you're watching me on YouTube, please make sure that you are logged into your Google account or your YouTube account, and then you're able to use the comments to sign in there as well. If you have any questions on the project or feedback on the project, I would appreciate you going ahead and using the comments for that as well. So today we're going to be diving into color theory a little bit. And I'm going to show you the picture of the color wheel that's in the catalog. There is actually a color wheel that you can purchase from Stampin' Up, but unfortunately, mine is lost in my craft room right now. So, the adventures of Traci. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And so this is the color wheel of, I believe there may be some in color colors on this color wheel. The one that you purchase consists of all of the coordinating colors that are always in the Stampin' Up! Collection. So the in colors are not in the one that you can purchase from Stampin' Up! Anyway, today we're going to talk about complementary colors. So I'm going to flip this over here, and there are different ways to look at color. Oh, I'm not, you know what? You can't even see what I'm looking at. Let me just change this up. There we go. So now you can see the color wheel. And as I said, this is the picture in the catalog. This does have included the in colors from that point in time. If you buy the color wheel from Stampin' Up! Now, it only has those 48 colors in the ongoing collection that we have as an organization, okay? So today, when we're diving into color theory, a while back, I did monochromatic, and that means that everything matches, but it might just be slightly different tints of one color, but it's all one color. Today, we're going to do complementary, and those are opposite on the color wheel. They say opposites attract, and they have a real bold contrast. That's what I'm going to share with you today. And now this word that's very hard to say, analogous, that's three colors that are side by side. We'll be doing that in the future. And then triadic is on a triangle shape on the color wheel, and how those colors will come together and actually, make the other colors look good because they're in this triangle shape across the color wheel. Okay. But as I said, we're going to do complementary today. Oh, actually, I'll show you on here. Now, if I can get it to come back here. I'm going to be going from this side, pretty in pink. So I've got the pretty in pink. And I'm going to go across to Lost Lagoon. So I think these are really vibrant. And I'm going to kind of soften them by showing you a special coloring technique. And I'm going to add texture to the cards today, which will also soften them, but you'll see how very beautiful these colors turn out on my final card. All right, so let's set that to the side. And as we're getting ready, I'm going to bring out our card base. So we're going to use Lost Lagoon as the card base. So this is just the regular size, 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4 1/4, and I'm just going to crease my score line here so that we have our card base. And this is the size that fits in a medium envelope. So we'll set that off to the side. Then I've taken a piece of Pretty in Pink, and this is actually 5.5 by 2 inches. Okay, and I'm going to create some texture on the front of this card with this. And then I'm going to use my card insert is going to be white, and card inserts always 4 by 5.25 if I'm using just the general size. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. So we've got that. And then I'm going to need just some regular basic white cardstock to do some stamping. So we're going to go ahead and get our stamping out of the way first. So I have this, and I'm going to bring in some stamps from the Spotlight on Nature. This is such a pretty stamp set with some beautiful branch of leaves. It also has flowers, this butterfly. And why I chose this is because I said I'm focusing on texture. So I really like this little stamp in here that has like hashtags. And then there's one that has like sand or pebble looking. And then I also liked the 2 sentiments, and they're going to work perfectly with the card that I've designed for you today. Hi, Kim. I'm glad that you're here. Hi, Betty. Nice to see you. All right, let's get these main stamps in here, and I'm going to do them in Memento Black because, like I said, later I'm going to show you a way to color these in a way maybe you haven't seen before, or perhaps you've forgotten. So I am just inking up this stamp. I'm trying to get the most out of my piece of paper here, so I'm going to put this close to the edge. All right, we've got one. Let's go ahead and stamp the flowers. When it's a larger stamp, I like bringing my ink to the stamp. I'm less likely to get the halo effect because I've missed, a mark that I made on the edge of the stamp. These are cling stamps, so they have the cushion in them, so I don't need my pierce mat. Go with that. And then let's do the butterfly. This is a nice large butterfly. I like it for that reason. And we'll put that right up here. Now the die set that goes with this stamp set is a number of circles and does not have the dies for these flowers. So I'm going to be fussy cutting these today. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Now I like these little scissors to do that. The snips that you can get through Stampin' Up are, halfway between the size of this size of scissors and a larger Fiskars. So that works really good for fussy cutting as well. And I always leave a little white outside as I cut. And I only move the paper with my hand that is not holding the scissors. And go around, and right now I'm doing just a general cut all around the edge here, and then I'm going to do a little bit more detailed cutting. Sometimes when the piece of paper I'm cutting off gets long, I just kind of snip to the side to get it out of my way. I am going to go inside here and try to get it pretty defined around the stem, just because I want to reduce the amount of white cardstock that's going to be showing, even though I'm fussy cutting this. So some people love fussy cutting. They tell me it's very relaxing. And some people really don't like it because, they don't like to take the time. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't mind doing it, but when I'm doing something with the same images over and over, then I appreciate the dies where I can just use that over and over and not have to take the time to individually cut all around the images. When we have designer series paper, sometimes we'll have the dies that match the paper, and you can die cut out like a flower that's in the designer series paper. And sometimes you need to fussy cut. So fussy cutting is a good thing to do when you're binge watching some TV show. And I can fussy cut a whole piece of designer series paper that will help me to make a whole lot of different cards. So then I think that's a very good use of my time. Sometimes I think it's faster than doing the die cutting, depending upon what the images are and how detailed they are. Okay. So I'm curious, what's your take on fussy cutting? Hi, Kathy. If you'll put in the comments, are you a person that enjoys fussy cutting, or do you prefer dies, or do you not like to do either one? That would be my question. Okay, so now we've got that part cut out. And I do think I'm going to take a little more of this white, and you'll see why I'm trying to get rid of as much white as I can because of how I'm going to put this card together. So you can do whatever level of detailed cutting you want to do. So you can leave these whites in here, especially if you're going to just put this on white paper. Or you can try to cut a little bit more of it out. And that's what I'm trying to do with this. And you'll see why shortly. Kelly, I'm not a fan of a fussy cutting, but do it when I need to. That's practical. I use my dies more than my Cricut, okay? You know, this would be if you have young people that want to do some crafting with you. It's a good skill for them to learn how to use the scissors. You could have them help you cut out your designs. And the more they do it, the more comfortable they'll get, and the more, you know, the nicer their fussy cutting will look. And remember, it's art, so if it's not perfect, that's okay. So this, you can tell, is a lot faster than the flower one. Well, sometimes I got to do a little reverse cutting here. Let's get my scissors in here. All right, and we'll get this. Oh, that's kind of thick. All right, and then the last one, the butterfly. Yeah, your hand gets sore if you do too much. I try to remind myself not to grip the scissors so hard and keep my hand a little more relaxed because you're right, your thumb starts to hurt a little bit. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and get that out of our way. And I'm going to do the texture for the card first. So we're going to do a little more stamping first on the base of our card. So I have this. I'm going to put a little scrap paper underneath. I'm actually going to do some tone on tone stamping. So I have both my Pretty in Pink and the Lost Lagoon that I'm going to be using here. And I'm going to do the Lost Lagoon on the Lost Lagoon. And I have that hashtag and I have these little dots I'm going to use. And I'm going to do some first, second, and third generation stamping here. So we'll get it the first time, we'll go a second time, and no rhyme or reason. I am just randomly going to be adding color in the same color on the background of this because I don't want it to just be plain. I want to see that it has some depth. And so I really appreciate the fact that Stampin' Up! Has so many stamp sets that offer this opportunity for us to add texture and shadows and detail with the extra stamps that they put in the sets. You don't have to go looking for things to do this texture. I've already got it. Okay, there's that one. Let's get that out of our way. Now I'm going to take the little dots here and I'm going to go and just fill in some of the spots that don't seem to have any texture, and maybe I'll, go over some of what I already did. All right. So this is the front now, but see how it looked, how plain, and how quick it really was to add a whole different look to this cardstock, okay? Now to do the next one, I'll just set that ink off to the side. Now I'm going to take the Pretty in Pink and I am just going to start crumpling this up. Now, if you want this to go a little faster and you have some time for the paper to dry, you can use your spritzer and put a little water on here. But I don't have time for it to dry. So I am just going to be crushing it up with my hands, just folding it every which way. And then I unfold it, unscrunch it, and then, go a different direction with it. And some of it might rip a little bit. It's okay. All right. If I have an area that doesn't seem to have texture on it, then I kind of just smush it together between my fingers to make sure that part gets some texture, right? Okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to smooth it out. All right, now I'm going to rip very tiny edge off of here. And when I pull it towards me, you're going to see more of that frayed edge coming towards you. And I kind of want to keep this linear, so I am just going to tear off a real thin line. Okay, and then I'm going to go down the other side and continue to tear this towards me. So Kim, learning how to heat emboss is on your list, huh? We'll have to do that one of these weeks. All right, so there. Now I've got those edges. Now to create texture with this, now there's a lot of ways I could do this. So I could actually take the stamp pad and you can just rub that across here. That's one way. I've got a little piece of lint in here. I'm going to get out with my tweezers. Where'd it go? There it is. Now I've got that color ink on my finger and my tweezers. There we go. All right, so that's one way. Another way is you could use your blending brush. I'm actually going to go and use one of my daubers. And I usually do have a dauber in every color, but I don't have it in this pretty in pink. And I'm going to start off the page because I don't want to start with a big dot of the color. And then I'm going to kind of move over here onto here. And I'm going to go over a wide area so that while I have a lot of ink, I'm kind of spreading it out. Come off over here again and try to get a little bit more of that darker ink off of here so I can get some lighter shading. Now it really picks up the color along the edge and, you know, across where we've created all the wrinkles and crinkles, right? Okay, so kind of created our own designer series paper. You can, they'll call this a faux leather or faux suede design too. And I'm going to just set that ink pad off to the side. And this is going to come onto the front of the card like this. But before we put things together, I want to now bring in our images that we stamped in the Memento Tuxedo Black. And I'm going to get a blender pen. So these are designed to work with, you know, our inks. And you can, some people will take the cover of this, oops, and they'll press this down into the front and they'll get ink in here. I think that's kind of messy. They will take an acrylic block and you can put ink on the back of your acrylic block and use this. Or actually, I'm just going to use it straight out of the pad from the corner. So this has two ends that are exactly the same. Before you use it, you just make sure that it's not got the last color you used by, you know, writing a little bit on something. Now I'm just going to pick up a little ink and I'm going to start at the base of these flowers because when I first pick up the ink is when it's darkest. And I'm going to go ahead and color in this flower. So I'm doing this without, you know, a stamping blend. You can do this coloring with a stamping blend. You can do this coloring with color pencils. You can use your Stampin' Right markers. You could marker the cling stamp with your marker and then stamp, because this is one way I want to get two colors on here. The leaves are going to be Lost Lagoon, and I didn't want to stamp this in any one color because I wanted to have the dual colors. I sometimes think it looks nice to leave a little white on your flowers. And I go back over where I want it to be darker. So that's how I shade with a blending pen. I'm going to actually add some of this to my butterfly. And this really applies nicely. Just so you know, I think you can see how simple this is. And when you buy a blender pen, I'm trying to think, I know you get 2 or 3 of them in a package. All right, so we've got our butterfly and our flowers. So now I'm going to, until this color leaves my blender pen tip, I just scribble a little bit until it goes clear. Okay, and I'm going to move that out of my way, and I'm going to bring in my Lost Lagoon, and I'm going to use the corner of this pad now and add color to my leaves. What's so simple about this is I didn't have to go hunting for my stamping blends or my Stampin' Right markers because I already had it, because I was already stamping with it. So it's also a little faster way to do this. Also gives you options. You know, we have a lot of tools available to us, so it's kind of nice to know how we can use them as we're creating. Okay. So have you done this before? Hi, Betty. Just wondering, have you used a blender pen? And if so, what's your favorite way to use it? As I said, there's many things you can do with it too. Get a little bit on the stem here just to highlight that it's green. And like I said, purposefully, I've left some areas of white just to kind of make it, I don't know, it looks a little softer, I guess. Then I'm done with this. So I like to try to get the ink out of the end of my blender pen before I put it away. So now that's cleaned off. Keep the lid on it, right? Okay, we'll leave that off to the side. And my butterfly, the way I want to make that stand out a little, I'm going to do some Wink Stella to make the butterfly actually be shiny. Okay, so now this is our glitter pen. And I'm just going to go over the wings of the butterfly here. And zhuzh it up a little bit. Okay. So can you see the shine on there? A little bit maybe. So, all right, we've got that. We've got our 2 leaves. Let's go ahead and put together this part of the card. We will, you know what? I do want to stamp the inside. Let's go ahead and do the inside. So this is going to be a thank you card to a dear friend. So I am going to put this in on the insert. I'm going to do dear friend here. Try to make sure this is straight and this is straight. Okay, we've got that. And then I do want to put a little corner of the flower in here. So I just want to do the corner here. There we go. And I do want to color just a little of this as well. So it'll just take me a minute here to add a little bit of my color. There we go. And let's get a little green on there too. Green, Lost Lagoon, sorry. Need to use my Stampin' Up! Language. So, you know, it's so easy to add just a little something in the corner. And it really does make a difference there. That was very fast. The green out of my blending pen. Lost Lagoon. All right. There, now we're ready to put together our card. And the final stamping is going to be on the front here. But I think we'll put our images where they're going to go, and then we'll go ahead and stamp the final sentiment. So I'm just going to glue the texturized paper right to the front of our card front here. Okay. And I want to leave a little bit of the card front on both sides. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this up. I think I'm going to keep this. Well, I am going to glue down the bottom of this, but I'm going to pop up the top of it so that it kind of looks more interesting in somewhat 3D kind of look. So let's do that. So we're down here on the bottom. I've got the glue. And right here, I'm just going to put one little mini glue dot to make that top leaf pop. Now that looks kind of neat that it's going up at an angle. And now we're going to do all of our flower here. I'm going to use a combination of my bigger dimensionals and my little dimensionals. And you know what? I'm going to use just a little glue on the bottom of this stem so that will kind of look like that's laying flat. Okay. Okay, Betty, I'm glad that you've seen something new with the blender pen and the Wink of Stella. All right, this is going to go off now to the side here. Okay, and then I'm going to bring my butterfly in on the top here, and that needs obviously some dimensionals. With that little extra shine. All right, and then our inside. We'll just be putting this in here. You know, a choice we could have, but I won't take the time today, is you could actually layer the card insert by cutting it down to 3 3/4 by 5, and then put the Pretty in Pink card layer, you know, the normal card insert size of 4 by 5 1/4, to make this pink on the inside pop even a little more. But there we have it. Oh, sentiment. And you know, one thing I don't have right here are some dimensionals. And you could do them in these colors, or you could just do your silver, gold. Look, let's go right on top. And there we have our thanks. And if you wanted that to stand out a little more, you could put it on a sentiment label. And then just for you to see this in the reverse, we don't have these glued down. But you can take those same colors and, you know, which is your favorite. This is a quick way to make a couple of different cards since you're fussy cutting already. And I just got out a couple of pieces of the cardstock, and then I'm just using what I have and getting it done. So, hi, Mary Ellen. Nice to see you. Let me just share some other projects with you that right now, I just want to get these out of the way so I'm not getting ink on things. So last night, I had a awesome shadow box secret course, and I want to show you the shadow box that we made. And when I say we, the participants in the class had great suggestions for how I could do this even better than how I had planned it. So this is a 9 by 9 inch shadow box. And I buy these at Michael's, and you can get them in white, black, or this wood tone. And then I featured the new Sunrise Sailing suite, which is in the online exclusives. And the big thing about all of this was doing layers. So we did layers of waves. The sailboat is layered. The clouds are layered. And then, you know, I kind of dug into my stash of retired sets and did this lighthouse and used embellishments to look like rocks. We did the pelican here is also retired, but pop that up and use layers. This is the alphabet set that you can get where in one fell swoop you can cut out all the letters. And so that was really easy. And then down here, we did dimensional image to make that anchor. And then, you know, in class, we learned about how you figure out your pattern, how you figure out the size of all of the pieces, and then how can you make this dimensional. So this class is still going to be available even as a replay for $19.95. So my summer special, the classes that I do this month and July and August are all going to be $19.95 instead of $29.95, so a $10 savings. Even if you got the early bird on those, you're still saving $5 from that because they would go out as early bird at $24.95. But anyway, $19.95, and if you want all 3 classes, whether you can go live or you see them on the replay, I'm selling them for $50. So that's a real deal. And I hope that you participate. We had a grand time. And then if you were interested in getting anything in the online exclusives, or if you're taking advantage of the sweet buy one, get one 50% off sale that's going on this month, I am giving a 4-card free tutorial, which is using the Celebration SIPs as the example in these tutorials, but you could use this with any designer series paper and stamp sets that you have, but you'll have the complete instructions and descriptions about the techniques and how to put the card together for 4 different cards. And then I did launch about 10 days ago the Ultimate Adhesive Bundle. And this is for just a short time yet going to be at a 20% discount. So this is actually, I said it was a $91 value, but I accidentally bought Stamp and Seal Plus. So that's an additional $2, and the postage was $2 more than I anticipated. So $95 value for $73. And what you get with this are regular dimensionals, mini Stampin' Dimensionals, mini glue dots, a whole package, masking paper, a portion of a packet so that you can check it out, the multi-purpose glue, which you guys see me using all the time. And as I said, Stamp and Seal Plus instead of just Stamp and Seal, the tear and tape adhesive, which works great for 3D projects, some adhesive sheets to be able to see if you like that in making stickers for when you're doing die cuts. And then as a bonus, I have put in the silicone craft mat, which we know helps when we are trying to glue things down and not get things, stuck on our desktop. The Pierce mat, which helps very much with stamping with acrylic blocks and photopolymer stamps. And then the rubber adhesive eraser and a sand eraser for if you have things that you need to fix. And then lastly, I created a guide with more detailed information all about adhesives. It's really important that we know how to use different adhesives with our paper crafting so it doesn't fall apart. And so within here, I talk about details about liquid glue and dimensionals, and then I give extra tips in here about using them and how you can use them in your crafting. Mini glue dots, the tear and tape, adhesive sheets, tape runners. Then there's a chart here about recommendations for types of adhesives that can be used with different types of things you're trying to glue down. And then a little bit more of where you can get additional adhesive if you run out, and just a little message from me. But anyway, this is a $9.95 value, and it is also a part of and included in this price, as is the postage for the $73 plus all that adhesive. Like I said, I have a couple of these left, and when they're gone, then the next round that I do is probably going to be around $82 because I found some of this on free shipping, so I passed along that discount to you. So with that being said, let me go back to this and say thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you liked this card, and I hoped you liked, the texture, learning another way to color. Let's see. Would it work to scruff up the sides of the strip before you crushed it? It might make it a little smoother and maybe it wouldn't tear, Kathy. So good suggestion. I would try it and see what that does. If you have any questions or comments about what you saw today, don't hesitate to reach out to me at Traci, Traci, at plumcrazystamping.com. Also, I appreciate your thumbs up, liking this video. And if you're on YouTube, I would appreciate you subscribing and hit the bell so that you get notified when I do new videos and you won't miss anything. Anyway, between now and the next time I'm here, which is probably midweek next week, I hope you have fun doing your paper crafting. And I'll just say happy stamping, friends. Take care. Bye-bye now.